Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. So glad you've joined us to stay curious. And hey, Stay Curious family, look who we have in the house, Winston Scott, well, everybody's favorite astronaut out there with the best smile in the business there. Winston, great to see you, my
It's always
friend.
good to be with you, Mark. Thanks for inviting me back again.
Well, we've got Executive Director Gabriel Rothblatt. I'll shake my boss's hand there, and he can shake Winston's hand. Gabriel and I are in our 5th month of running the museum, and Gabriel's over our nonprofit foundation. Basically, anything that has a dollar sign, he deals with, and if it has a dollar sign, I ask him if I can spend it. So, as the director of the museum, but we are. Gabriel, we're doing pretty good, aren't we?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a little rocky start, just trying to find the transition, understand where we wanted to go. But we've entered 2025 at max Q, and the sky's the limit.
Yeah, we're about to go through the thrust bucket there.
All right.
Winston, you
hopefully you're coming out of it. So
we're coming out of the thrust
increasing
bucket
power.
there.
Increasing thrust.
So Winston's been on the show many times. We're not going to talk too much about his wonderful career, but Winston, tell us what you're doing now. It's so important.
Actually, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm at the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex, and I do the coordination of all the astronauts that come into the visitor complex to give the presentations. So it's the scheduling, the programming, and so on. So I've worked with the astronauts administration to provide that programming for the public. So it's a lot of fun.
I'm pulling up my little sheet here. Look at this man is getting all those astronauts to come out there. And Marty, did you go out and see Tom Jones today?
I sure did. Yep.
How's one of our favorite astronauts?
Oh, he's great. I mean, all the astronauts do a great talk, but I gotta rank Tom up there way at the top. I really enjoy his talk, and I probably heard of it maybe 10 times so far.
Yeah, his the childhood book he took to space up there that I've got a copy. This time, did you ask him?
No, Marcus, I thought you were going to ask.
Yeah, see, always passing the buck
Right.
to the big stuff there. But
Well, you said you're going to be out there, so
I was, and I lied. I forgot how busy we had with the Japan group here, and Gabriel and I spent some good Monday morning together.
Mark, I'm going back out there tomorrow. If you're not, I'll ask him.
Yeah, no, oh, good. No, I intend to go out there tomorrow and see him, though.
I
Yeah.
heard that before. Though.
Okay, all right, that's right. But I get busy.
Absolutely.
Winston, what a great group of people here. The Delaware North. There's some love for them out there. That is one of the most important things I think they do out there is the general public has access to an astronaut for hear them talk twice a day and free autographs.
That's right. Autographs,
And,
photographs.
They don't and
presentations.
photograph, yeah.
That's right.
And they don't do that at Johnson Space Center.
No.
Infrequently, I
No,
think.
this is the only place that has an astronaut on site every day that it's open. And it's open 363 days a year. And there's an astronaut on site every day. And the general public have access to that person.
Sam Gemar was just out
Yeah,
there,
Sam
and
just
you
left.
have some that show up quite frequently.
Right.
Bob Senker's another one that we see a lot of. So we get to know these people. Norm Thagard gives a lot of his time out there. But then it's kind of you get one that, oh, wow, they're only going to be here once this year. And I'm looking at Jose Hernandez was kind of that this year.
Yeah, Jose has come a long distance, of course. We don't get Jose very often.
And we're looking forward to Charlie Walker in April. J.D. Bartow's another good one. So it's just a great access to them. Of course, they get to know our museum a little bit on there. Here's Winston's shuttle missions, STS-72 and 87. And, we read a lot of astronaut books. We see a lot of astronaut write books out there. But, my gosh, this is a small pamphlet. But it's one of my favorite reads, Winston.
I'm glad. I'm glad you enjoy it.
Well, it talks about you growing up in the segregated Miami and all that. We've talked about it before. And it's just, this is one lucky gentleman beside me. Probably would have been a great trumpet player and cut some records with those cool cats. But instead, you're spacewalking and stuff like that. I want you to get some of these so we can sell them someday.
Sure.
We'll look into that.
The
one day.
bookstore. You can go through the bookstore over at the visiting complex.
Well, I want to get a case of them one day.
Sure.
We'll have them at Shuttle Fest
Mhm.
there. But so look at, and I wanted to say you were here with Roger Crouch and his lovely wife. They
Yes.
gave you a
The
quilt
Quilt
of
of
valor.
Valor. Yes.
That was really
I
nice.
was very honored. And the Quilt of Valor, for those who don't know, is presented to veterans, those who have served in the military, who've been nominated to receive one. So very, very honored to have received that Quilt of Valor.
And I'm seeing here, Marty, we are live, right?
Yeah, I'm showing up with live.
Okay. I'm just
Okay.
checking.
All
right.
Here. Remember the
Hey,
last
doesn't
time?
hurt to check, to double
Yeah,
check.
no, I see it.
Right.
We are live there. And though we've gone off our 4 o'clock regular time, Gary Gerald, when Gary brings me Vidalia onions from his farm up in Georgia, I'm going to bring
That's
you some.
right. Yeah,
You and
please
your
do.
wife, Marilyn, like
Absolutely.
Vidalia onions, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Bob Myron's watching. He's a new family member of ours. Dave Stangy's up in Macomb, Michigan. Dean Babcock's in Illinois. Elena Adheria she's in South Africa. And there's my daughter Jessie with my granddaughters Macy and McKinley there. She's up in Tennessee. Love my girls up there. So so we're just going to have a kind of, I want to ask Winston a little bit about what's going on, but he was part of us being, oh, there we go, show you that.
Look at that.
And I can't believe that I didn't know you were playing down at the Italian American Club.
Yeah, I just started just a few months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, the big band is there every second Tuesday.
I'm
of the
there,
month.
March 11th.
That's right. So,
Yeah.
but not tomorrow, but the next Tuesday
Yeah,
we'll
that
be
week
there.
from
I'll be
Tuesday.
playing. It's a big 20-piece big band, and we
20
we have-
pieces are in
yeah,
that
yeah,
little-
it is a true big band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we play a lot of really fine big band era music, and it's just a lot of fun.
Well, he's excellent. So your cheeks are getting in shape.
Yeah,
They were out of shape for a while.
They were
there.
out of shape for a while, but you know, music is a part of who you are. It's like flying. It's in your blood, so you can't stay away from it too long.
No,
So,
you can't.
Good. Picked you up again, been playing regularly.
Yeah,
Lot of fun.
Sometimes when I'm morose or in a rut, and then I kind of force myself to listen to some music,
Right.
and I'm going, why did I listen to music before? I listen to K Jazz out of LA every day.
Mhm.
That's one I've got on iHeartRadio all the
Yes.
time. But I know you're a big Miles Davis fan. And all that.
Absolutely, yes indeed.
And it's just, yeah, get into some good music and enjoy it there. What kind of music you listen to, Gabriel?
You know, I'm not a single genre person. You know, I really look for you know, the epics that just really touch an emotion. You know, happy, sad, you know, active, but those things that just really get to the spirit of it is what I enjoy. I play guitar. You know, picked it up. I'm not a professional great, but you know, I do find it somewhat like riding a bike.
Right.
And I find it, you know, just amazing how just with the little simple, you know, chords and whatnot that I understand, just playing it and allow the feeling to kind of, you know, come out with that. So in fact, I actually prefer instrumental music. You know, not to discount the beauty of the voice, but I really prefer to listen to the music itself and not get so caught up with the message that you necessarily they're trying to say or the words. But that's what I really seek.
That's beautiful. Music is the rhythm of our lives for sure, and takes you back to anywhere you can. And so I hope to get a chance to see you play on Tuesday
Sure,
down there
absolutely.
a little bit there. We also wanted to throw out there our Shuttle Fest, and Winston, you helped us with the first one. You have been there for this museum. Of course, we miss Karen Conklin very deeply.
Yes.
You knew Karen
Yep,
very
knew Karen.
well. I actually met Mike McCulley first, and then you. And you're definitely the astronaut I've interacted with most on a business level. And it's just a beautiful thing what you all do and spend your time. Today I didn't put a picture up, but Shuttle Fest was part of what you helped kick off. Can you believe we've got these beautiful people coming? Well, let me show them this way. We're hiding John Grunsfeld down there that did 3 shuttle missions.
Yeah.
Joe Tanner
Joe Tanner,
seems to be like a regular Joe guy that we're going to have here. He wants to be an astronaut encounter. I think
I
he-
know.
he
I've
think
been
he talked to you.
communicating with Joe. Now,
Yeah.
Joe and John were both in my class.
Okay.
We actually are classmates. I
Now,
know John and Joe
That
Tanner.
that wasn't the
92.
hairballs.
No. We were the Hogs.
The hogs. Okay, you were the hogs.
Pigs
okay.
in space.
The
Yeah.
hogs. Eileen was in Don Thomas's class.
Okay.
And you know, Don is always running around
Yeah.
your campus there.
Yeah,
He's-
I do. I get Don here fairly regularly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
not just that they do the astronaut encounter
That's right, he
thing,
does
but
other events.
he does a lot of the behind the scenes
He does.
launch with the
He
astronaut and all
does.
that. And he's a Buckeye like
Mhm,
me, and
mhm,
he's
mhm.
looking forward to meeting. He hasn't seen Eileen in 5 years.
Wow. Okay.
And he said they were hairballs. That's what they
Okay.
were. She goes, she was in my class, and Mark, I haven't seen her in 5 years. And I said, Don, that's what this is all about for you
Mhm,
astronauts. I know you don't see each other like people think you do,
Right.
you know. And you, I mean, when's the last time you saw Duffy? Well, when he was
Well,
here,
when he was here, I can't
or
remember.
Barry.
now.
I've always wanted to.
Well, I haven't seen Barry in years.
Yeah.
Dan was in my class, and Dan in
I'd love to
10
see him,
years. Yeah.
around here.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask him about being on Survivor.
I remember that.
You know, I think
I think he got voted off the island.
yeah, but he was number 4. Marty watched that on there. If you've got a question for Winston Scott, he'll be happy to answer it today as we're having a impromptu talk with him. This is what he was doing today. Let me push that up there. I didn't put a picture up there, but there is, I'll show it up here and then you can tell what you were doing, Winston. Let me do it.
Sure, absolutely.
There you go, everybody. There's what Mr. Scott was doing today.
Yeah, if the can't make out too well, we actually had students visiting from Japan, and there must have been maybe 40 or 50 11th graders in the group. They arrived a couple of days ago, and they'll be visiting the Kennedy Space and Visitor Complex. Well, I had the privilege of speaking to them and giving them a presentation, and my presentation was apropos because I flew in space with a Japanese astronaut on both my missions. I had Koichi Wakata on my first flight, and then Takao Doi on my second flight. And Takao has the distinction of being the first Japanese astronaut to walk in space. And he performed that spacewalk with me out of the Bay of Columbia. So Takao and I had a marathon spacewalk, almost 8 hours long on that spacewalk. That was a long one.
Koichi Wakata. Now, who's the first one that can tell me that wonderful Japanese astronaut's nickname? Because I seen it on your right here one time. Let's see if someone knows what Koichi's nickname was. And to throw out there, this man's a Top Gun with the nickname Slick.
Yeah,
Right?
That's right.
That's
Has nothing
right.
to do with my
You and
integrity.
Andy Allen got the same nickname. I told you.
Yeah,
that.
you know that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're talking about Andy was Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Still,
he's a
though,
Marine Top
a
Gun.
Marine Top Gun. I mean, Marine's a naval aviator, so he's Top Gun.
Yeah.
And yeah, Andy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in there. So, but yeah, Koichi Wakata's got a distinctive name there. And Elena says, my respect to you. And Dean Babcock's got a question there. It's a good one.
Yeah, Dean's asking, Winston, why did your astronaut class choose the nickname Hogs?
I think it came from the old Welcome Back Kotter TV series. Somebody suggested that. Weren't they the Hogs and the Welcome Back Kotter series?
Yeah,
They were,
right.
They were the Sweat Hogs.
Sweat Hogs.
The Sweat Hogs.
Yeah, and somebody suggested that, and it became and we went back and forth. There were other names, some not so complimentary, and some what, and we settled on, and we eliminated just Sweat and came to the Hogs.
But I thought it was
And,
the previous class that names you.
No, we
Okay.
if you
You had
didn't,
the flying
if-
escargot because of the 2 Frenchmen in
yeah,
it.
if you didn't come up with a suitable name that they like,
They
then
would.
you got saddled with one.
Yeah, okay.
And some of them were some Hollywood names like the Eagles, and I said no, nobody has it. Only in Hollywood do they have those cool names.
Yeah.
So we actually made a patch with pigs and with a helmet on in space. That was our class patch.
And you said,
Yeah, Sweat Hogs originally, and then we sort of shortened it to the Hogs.
okay. And Sonny Williams was in your class?
No, Sonny was in a class behind me.
Okay.
Sonny came, 2 classes behind me.
Well,
But we overlap. No Sonny real well. Yeah, and of
got
course-
Mitch Rothman joined us from Colorado. Mitch, you'll meet Mitch at Shuttle Fest.
Okay.
He's Mitch, you and Paula, thank you very much. We opened an envelope that was from you all today, right, Gabriel? We
Yes,
thank you very much.
absolutely. Yeah, appreciate your ongoing support of the museum and Shuttle Fest.
That's Mitch Rothman and Paula's wife. good people. And I wanted to show the Shuttle Fest there. You
Now,
are welcome. If
I
you
missed
come,
last year. I was there a year before.
yeah,
But I plan if I'm here, I'm there. I'm not
good.
traveling or
I'll
doing
buy you a
something else.
beer
Yeah.
and show up Saturday night. That's when everybody's going to be there. Here's a one of a kind photo.
Oh yeah, that was a good
right
one.
there.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah, that's
got
the story.
Yeah, got
And Nicole Stott.
got the late Hugh Harris
And Hugh Harris.
Mike
and,
Linebox in the background there.
Yeah,
Launch
yeah.
director.
Mike
McCulley.
unfortunately, damper. Mike just lost his wife.
Yes,
just
he
a few
did.
days ago. Sorry to hear
Yes,
about that.
and Charlotte, God
Yeah.
rest her soul,
Mhm.
but Mike needs some friends now. You
Mhm.
know that. And of course, that ain't Yul Brenner.
Yeah.
Which one's
Yeah,
Yul
Yul
Brenner?
Brenner.
On the left or the right there? People don't even know who Yul Brenner is.
Oh,
You know who Yul Brenner is? These young guys don't know who Yul
Yeah.
Brenner is. Great actor. Of course, that Story Musgrave on the left and Bob
Yeah,
Seek, the
Bob
great
Seek.
director, launched
etc.,
51
etc.,
shows.
etc.
Yeah. On there.
Story Musgrave is like the grand guru of spaceflight.
Okay.
If you ever seen cartoons where the little character climbs the mountain, there's a guru sitting on the mountain, and you want to know the meaning of
Yeah.
that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we would go visit. Sorry, Dan Barry and we were doing our first spacewalks. We wanted to, just kind of talk to somebody who had done it before. So we kind of go up to Story and Master.
Yeah.
How do we do the spacewalk? And Story sort of levitates off the chair and says, "My son, you must use the touch method."
Touch method.
Yeah, Story truly the grand guru of space.
Always be touching.
yeah, lightly, just lightly.
He was down at
Touch method.
a winter star party that Miami
Yeah.
Club throws in the Keys
Yeah,
for 5 days,
Mhm.
and I'd say he's probably the most intelligent person I've ever
Story
been
is
around.
brilliant,
I mean,
brilliant guy.
yeah, just he's just
Absolutely.
always going on and
Mhm.
in pretty good health. And he
Mhm.
said that he's going to be in Los Angeles during the week of Shuttle Fest, or
Okay,
he'd be
yeah.
there. But we're going to have Shuttle Fest 5, 6, and 7, so we
Absolutely.
got plenty of time to get them on board. Hopefully next year on there. Also of interest is all you folks may have noticed that there's 3 astronaut birthdays on March 3rd. Jim Adamson, good friend of ours in the museum. There's a picture I took of Jim at the Rocket Ranch reunion on the bottom. Did the first email from space. Bonnie Dunbar and Jim Voss, born the same year. There, Warsaw, New York for Jim. Bonnie Dunbar, Sunnyside, Washington, and Cordova, Alabama. Has Kathy Thornton territory there.
Yes.
Down there. So happy birthday to them. Again, we celebrate your birthday, and I can't. When is
I'm
it?
in August.
You're in August. Oh
yeah,
man,
August
there's-
6th.
you're same
Leo.
as Nicole Stott, I think. There's 2 or 3 other astronauts with
Yeah,
you.
there's some of that. August.
Well, I've got some birthday history trivia for you.
All right.
So my birthday is October 5th.
Mhm.
I share it with at least 2 other notable space icons. Can you guess?
October
I have
5th.
idea.
October 5th?
I'm going to say Werner von Braun and Mike Massimino.
Well, close. So I was born on the 100th anniversary of Robert Goddard. He also is October 5th, 1882. I'm October 5th, 1982.
Yeah.
But also, I share the same birthday with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh yeah,
He's
yeah,
also
yeah.
October
I
5th
didn't know that.
birthday.
I didn't know his birthday.
Yeah, no.
You ever met him?
I have met him.
Done
Yeah,
something
brilliant
with
guy.
him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in a long time. I've had the opportunity to be on a couple of panels with him. Again, this is way back in the day. But absolutely brilliant individual. And can break astrophysics down to a level that anybody in public can understand it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And simple stuff. You heard about the supermoon, right? Go out and see the super
Yes,
full
that's right.
moon, and you know it ain't much bigger than a regular full moon. And he put the analogy: a regular full moon is a 10-inch pizza. A super full moon is a 10.5-inch pizza. All right. So try to perceptively decide if you got your share of mushrooms on that or whatever. Got another question there, Marty.
Yeah, question from Dean Babcock. Winston, what was the most difficult phase of the astronaut selection process for you?
The most difficult phase, actually, it's kind of behind the scenes. You turn in your application, or you send it in, and then you sit back and wait and hope. And so I guess the most difficult phase is waiting, because the whole process took about 1.5 years from the time I submitted it to the time I was actually selected. So you're sitting and waiting and hoping that you make the next step. I was Navy, so I had to apply to the Navy first, obviously, get past the Navy board, and I did, fortunately. And then they send my name down to NASA, and you just wait on each new milestone. So I guess the most difficult part was waiting, and my strategy was, hey, I'm gonna have a good time. I'll relax, and if I make it, that's fine. If I don't make it, I will have done the best I could. So that
It's probably got to be the hardest part because you have no control over it.
you have no control over it, yeah, and you don't know where they are in the process. All you know is thousands of people have submitted, and all you know is that at some point they're going to make a cutoff, and you want to know if your name staying in there. And when we got down to the finalists, it was around Thanksgiving of '91, thereabout. And I was thinking to myself, well, I haven't heard anything. I don't know if I've been eliminated. And lo and behold, I got a phone call from Johnson Space Center, said, hey, you're a finalist. We need you to come down and spend a week with us here at Johnson Space Center. You're going to do some medical checks, some interviews and things like that. And so I pumped my fist in the air because I'd make it to the finalists selection. And then come January, I went down and spent it was a week, not 2 weeks, a week there at Johnson Space Center. And again, my philosophy is, hey, I get a free trip to Houston. I get to meet the astronauts, and I have a lot of stories to tell when I come back.
Yeah.
So I came back, and then again, you wait and wait and wait, and lo and behold, I was very fortunate to be selected.
So in that selection board, was Mr. Abbey on the board then?
No,
That was after
Don
that.
Putty, the late Don Putty,
Okay.
chaired my board. Mr. Abbey was in D.C.
Excuse
Let me
me.
think. John Young was on the board. Ray Seddon was on my board. Joe.
Mr. Honeycutt used to be on them too.
No, Jay was not on my board. I think now who else on there. But I know John Young and Ray Seddon.
What do you remember
astronauts on
about
my
that?
board.
That nervous interview?
You know
with
what?
These,
It wasn't nervous, actually. I almost put my foot in my mouth because I like to have a good time, as you can probably tell.
yeah.
So I'm in the board. This is the interview now. I'm sitting there. I'm supposed to be. And I say something like, they say, why did you wind up in the Navy as opposed to the Air Force? I said, hey, it's Navy dudes, we're just the Air Force guy, something like that. I'm just joking, but they were looking real serious. So I said to them, I said, hey, I better straighten this thing up. And I said, no, we always joke about each other. The Navy thinks about the Air Force better than the Army, Army's better than the Marines. So but it really doesn't matter who wears what uniform. And Don Puggy looks at me, he says, good recovery. I'd take my foot out of my mouth, but
We've heard
I was
some
just joking.
stories. Mike Baker's got a great story.
Uh-huh.
Bake says that George Abbey looked at his resume and says, University of Texas, so you didn't get a very good education. Now, you said that to Bakes.
Yeah.
And
Or
Mike,
his reaction, I guess.
Mike said John Young goes, come on, George, don't start
Yeah.
doing that stuff now. In there. But they're just trying to trip you
They're
up.
trying to trip you. See how you react to things.
I've been told you reach that stage, you're qualified to be an astronaut.
Everybody.
They're
that
looking
reaches
for
that
do
stage.
you fit
That's
in
right.
with the people we've got? Are you a
Exactly.
team player? Is that what
Exactly.
you look at it?
Exactly. There's such great people that apply,
Mhm.
and then when you reach, like you say, you reach that stage, and when you go to visit for your interview, there must be 20. I think they brought us in groups of 20 for 4 weeks at a time. You get to meet this outstanding, and you wonder, you say, boy, how did I get in such great company? But yeah, really.
Marty's
good.
got another question for Winston Scott.
Yeah, Gary Jarrell's asking, Winston, can you speak about your experience during launch and landings on the orbiter?
Yeah, launch is the most dynamic ride you can ever experience, and the action starts at 7 seconds before liftoff. Okay, when the engines start, the thing is shaking and vibrating, and there's all this fire and smoke billowing up around the front windscreen. You aren't going anywhere yet. Clock hits 0, and it explodes off the pad. I mean, it kicks you in the butt.
Mhm.
And unlike the videos on TV, my first flight, I thought we were going to kind of rise up in slow motion. It jumps off the pad. Kind of surprised me. And I like to throw the stats out. We passed 100 miles per hour before we clear the tower. Mach 1, and on my first flight, it was 43 seconds. We hit Mach 1. And it pushes you back in your seat, and it never stops accelerating. That's what I remember about both flights, but especially my first one. Also, I like to relate experience on my first flight. We launched at night. I was just telling the kids in there. But about halfway through the ascent, I could look out the windows and see the day half of the Earth coming. So we launched at night. We accelerate Mach 1, Mach 2, Mach 3, Mach 5, Mach 6, Mach 8, Mach 10, so on. And then I see the day half of the Earth coming as we accelerate into orbit. So an incredibly fast, dynamic ride. And then the landing is, the re-entry is longer. From the time you leave orbit to the time you land is an hour and 20 minutes or something like that. It's a very gradual reentry, and gravity gradually re-exerts itself on you. So as you're slowing down, you hit the atmosphere and you're decelerating, you're very gradually feeling heavier and heavier and heavier. Your suit's pushing down on you, your helmet's pushing down on you. You feel as though you weigh about 4 times your normal weight. And then gradually you go from orbital velocity, Mach 25, down to a landing on a runway, kind of like an airplane. And the touchdown, it's nice and smooth, like a Delta airliner when you touch down, except the nose wheel slaps down a little bit hard. And then you roll the wheel stop, and you notice how heavy you are. Little difficulty walking when you get back. Your balance is thrown off a little bit. But launch and re-entry and landing, both really interesting, amazing experiences.
You had 2 flights. Were you in the you were in the lower bay on one?
No, I was a flight engineer for both flights.
Oh,
so I was on the flight deck. I was part of the
lucky
flight
then.
deck crew.
Good in there.
Yep.
Up there with the 4 up there. So
Mhm,
you had a pad and doing stuff behind the pilot.
I had duties to perform to back up the pilot and the commander. So I was on the flight deck.
Gabriel Rothblatt's over here beside Winston, our executive director. Please ask a question if you want, Gabriel. Got a couple little current events things wanted to ask Winston. He's on the campus out there at the Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex. Probably a little buzz when you go back out there tomorrow. Got a private company landed on the moon.
Actually, we've had
You saw that launch probably.
we've had several land on the moon. The latest one is Blue. Goodness, I can't keep up all the
called
names.
Firefly.
Firefly.
It's Blue Ghost.
Blue Ghost.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, there's so many of them.
Thursday we're going to have Intuitive Machines land.
Intuitive
for the
Machines
second
will
time in
land,
South
yeah.
Pole.
And Blue Ghost, I want to say landed within 100 miles of the South Pole of the moon.
No, it's in Mercurium. It's in a.
Who just landed it within a? Anyway,
yeah.
there's so many of them. The issue
Right.
with the moon, for people who don't know, is that's where the water ice is believed to be, and we're actually in a race to see who can get to the moon, the South Pole first.
Yeah.
We're in a cold race with the Chinese, because if they get there first, we're afraid they may lay claim to it and not want anybody else to play. But we're also in a race with other countries that are friendly to us. India has landed one on the moon. The Chinese, India's landed probe on the moon. And there's several others.
Yeah.
You help me keep up with one.
Intuitive
There's too
Machines.
many. Intuitive
and,
Machines, Blue Ghost, another one.
Israel.
Israel.
Bashid or something like
Yeah.
that. And India.
India. I just
India's the
mentioned
other one.
India.
India's
India
got
did
a heck
land.
of a space
Ab-
program. Have you ever gone to
absolutely.
India or
I-
been asked to go over there?
I was going over there, but COVID hit. And I
Okay.
flew with Kalpana Chawla
Yeah.
on A7.
Yes, you
But
did.
KC was from India, as the audience may know. And unfortunately, we lost her on Columbia in 2003, but I flew with her on A7 on Columbia. So the answer is I was scheduled to go, then COVID hit, and I have not been scheduled to go
Well,
back.
it's a new era here, and look at that gorgeous picture. The
Yeah.
Earth, of course, is in the background there. They're going to drill into the ground or the moon. And
Let me talk just a little bit more for people who don't know. The South Pole of the moon is one that we have not explored just yet. We need to go there for reasons I just said. But the South Pole is not just the South Pole, it's also dark. You hear people talk about the dark side of the moon.
right.
And it's dark because it never faces us. The moon rotates at such a direction and speed that one side always faces the Earth, even though the moon itself is rotating. So in the dark part of the moon is evolved a little bit differently than the light side of the moon. It's a little bit different.
The craters
So,
don't get sunlight down there at the south at all.
Exactly. So we haven't explored it, and I'm trying to think now. Somebody was sending a probe that was going to bring soil back from the South Pole. And I don't know where they are in that program now. Like I said, there are too many of them to
Yeah,
keep
I
up.
think China did.
China brought
Yeah,
it,
they
brought
did
it back,
bring
or
some
will
back.
bring some back. But the moon is an interesting place to return to. And I guess we'll talk about Artemis somewhere along the line. But
But another Carlton Bailey says China did land on the South Pole, and this is Carlton's screenshot that we're using here at CB to show off last night's noisy launch.
Yes, yeah.
You and your wife Marilyn
we
stay up for that.
No, we missed this, and I see almost everyone. I missed this. I knew it was going off. This is Starlink launch.
Yeah, about 9:30.
Starlink.
9 to
that's
9:15.
right. So it's Elon Musk communications constellation.
Yes.
And I forget how
They're
many
cell
he's up
towers.
there now. Yeah.
They're really just cell towers.
And he must have 1,000. I can't remember the number. 5,000
Yeah,
already.
yeah,
Wow, they're everywhere.
26,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
SpaceX is doing an incredible job, and Starlink is part of their.
But it boosts the attendance out
Yeah.
there at the Space Center.
Absolutely.
You get a lot of
Yeah.
visitors out there.
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
you're not out there every day. You got so much to do. And I'm
Yeah.
going to turn it over to Gabriel and Winston to talk a little bit about our social world here and African Americans in the space program. But Winston spent a lot of time at Florida Institute of Technology, and Gabriel was a presidential candidate there when they had that going on there. But to get to that, to you two guys talking, I want to just mention who's orbiting Earth right now. Who's orbiting Earth right now, Marty? This is what we love to do, is keep an awareness that we've got 10 humans orbiting the Earth, 7 on the International Space Station, 3 of them are Russian, 4 Americans, and then you have 3 Chinese orbiting in their space station. They're about to end that crew up there. I think China has orbited, Winston, 14 or 15 total crewed space flights. They've integrated 3 women into their program right away. It took NASA 20 years to integrate women. And they got 2 women that have been up there twice. And this gal's her first trip. You got 3 Russians, 4 Americans. They're not doing arm wrestling or anything up there. Why does the International Space Station be looked at as a candidate for the Nobel Peace Prize? That is the example we need to look at.
Yeah, when you look at it, except the prize can't go to an object or a location. It has to go to a person or group, I guess. I think that would be the reason. But it is a great place where barriers are broken, where people come to. There are no barriers up there when you fly with people either on the station or even on the shuttle. In my day, you really become like a family.
There was no barriers on the space shuttles. I was going to say,
not at all. You
all
train
right.
with those people, and you get
you're
to
what,
know
the third
them.
African? You're the fourth African American?
No, it's seventh.
Seventh.
African American.
And second spacewalker.
And the second spacewalker, Bernard Harris, was first African American to walk in space.
But you flew with Japanese, Indians.
Oh yes, Japanese, Indians, people from Ukraine.
Ukraine. Yeah.
Leonid Kadenyuk was from Ukraine. Now Leonid passed away a few years ago, so he may not know what's happening now. But we flew with him in space. So yeah, very everything is international, and the barriers truly do disappear. You get to know individuals as people and not people from a particular country.
Well, you know Nicole Stott very well.
I know Nicole very
well.
well.
We're Earthlings,
Yeah.
she says. We live on a planet, and the only border that matters is that thin blue line.
Absolutely.
One other last question from me, I'll turn it over there. There's been a little talk about who is an astronaut. All right. And Susan Kilran, who was a pilot twice, could have been a commander. You have brought her to the Space Center. She's awesome. We love her.
She is.
She was very surprising. I thought she'd be more commander, pilot-like, but she's very warm. She's okay with the suborbital Blue Origin people calling themselves astronauts after a 15-minute ride, 5 minutes of weightlessness. Marty and I want to call them Karmanauts. Okay. All right.
Well,
what does Winston Scott think about who's an astronaut?
I try not to worry too much about that. I figure it will sort itself out. I think that if you bought a ticket to go into space, you're not an astronaut. You're a tourist. You're a space tourist.
Okay.
And if you were selected by an agency and trained, then you call yourself an astronaut. but I try not to worry too much about it. I think it will sort itself.
Yeah, that's what we say. Let's call them carbonauts. Let's respect the fact they did it, but
Yeah, past the
I mean,
carbon.
Al
Yeah.
Shepard and Gus
Uh-huh.
Grissom were suborbital,
Mhm.
but then they did go orbital. And 620 humans have orbited the Earth.
Yeah, but again, they were selected by the United States government, and they were trained.
Absolutely.
They were trained to fly in space and they were true explorers.
Yeah,
They were test pilots.
and they had something to
And,
do up
they
there.
had something to do. They didn't buy a ticket and just ride up, float around.
I'm reading between the lines here with
That's kinda-
Winston.
that's my
But
take.
Susan was very she was kind of she's okay with it because the times change.
Yeah.
But Marty's got a question.
Steve Hoke, I can't say that. Anyway, why is the ISS going to be discontinued in 2030?
Well, the ISS has been up there for 25 years or so. It's showing its age. When ISS was built, it was only quote unquote warranty for about 5 years. And it's been up there for 25 years, whatever the number is now.
Mhm.
And it's starting to show its age. You get leaks and systems failures and have to be repaired. And it's just like a car. You drive a car for so many years, it starts to wear out on you.
It could get a
Components and-
classic automobile
Yeah,
tag right now
yeah,
at 25 years.
Absolutely. So it's starting
Yeah.
to show its age, and as you can imagine, it's going to get to the point where it's too expensive and too dangerous to maintain. My concern would be we deorbit it before we replace it with something. That's a personal thing. I think we need to maintain a permanent presence in low Earth orbit and not deorbit the thing before we replace it with something else. It's a great research laboratory, and I personally would like to see it stay up as long as possible, as long as feasible.
Why not shut it down and move it to a Lagrange orbit so that a generation 100 years from now can go and visit like a museum?
Well, again, you'd have to take care of it.
Yeah, you'd have
it would
to do
deteriorate
something
its
to it
systems. You have
probably
to,
in there.
and then to move it at one of those spots, you got to propel it out there somehow. It has no propulsion system to get at any of the Lagrange points.
Yeah.
It just wasn't designed to do that. So you're trying to move this
Yeah.
football field size.
Well,
thing,
you're right.
And
That's,
then to maintain it, you got to have. It's just like a house.
it'd
You
have to
gotta
have
live in it
or
and
just
maintain
fall
it.
apart. in
Yeah.
there. Marty's got another question.
Yeah, Mark, we have two questions coming up. The first one's from Mark Borobets. I'm going to have to change what he wrote there because it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I think what he's getting at is it really a spacecraft if you don't need a heat shield to get back?
No, you have to have a heat shield to get back. There's no way to deorbit to re-enter the atmosphere and survive without a heat shield.
Yeah, he's talking about the suborbital people. Is it really
he's talking about-
going to space if you don't need a heat shield to get
Oh,
you
okay.
back?
I didn't see
Oh,
that.
That's a
Okay.
big deal with
Yeah.
me too. Is the
Yeah.
suborbital Blue Origin? They don't need a heat shield. They
well,
don't go.
Yeah,
They
they aren't
don't go in the atmosphere there.
Yeah.
That's
They aren't going high. And
which got your heart going a bit faster, the launch or the re-entry with that
Probably
fireball.
launch. The launch is more dynamic. It happens 8.5 minutes.
Okay.
The re-entry is a lot longer and more gradual, but it's exciting too.
Yeah.
But on the suborbital things, I want everybody to understand that I'm all for it. You may remember I directed the Florida Space Authority under Jeb Bush,
Yes,
and I
sir.
was one of the people that was pushing for private commercial spaceflight. I was one of the people pushing hard for it. So I love it. But having said that, what they're doing with the touristy flights is kind of similar to getting in a boat and driving 10 miles out in the water and turning around and come back. And then you can't say you've been on an ocean voyage.
Yeah.
You just took a boat out a few miles and came back.
As I was saying,
So,
yeah.
so-
I take charters out of Jupiter.
Yeah,
You know, go.
Yeah.
I don't call myself an angler.
Exactly. You're not Jacques Cousteau.
No,
you can
no.
go up, yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Marty. Michael Bruno's got a great question.
Right. On the night side of orbit, do you see a greater number of stars with the naked eye than you could anywhere on the Earth's surface?
Well, you say a greater number. I'm not sure you see a greater number because even though we're in orbit, we're still relatively close to the Earth. We haven't gone that far away. But what you do see, and of course you have to be on the dark side of the orbit and you have to turn off the ambient light, shuttle, payload bay door lights, inside, so all that off. And then you can see the stars and they are much clearer and brighter than you see from Earth. From Earth, we're looking through essentially 50 miles of atmosphere. And when you look at stars from space, not through atmosphere, it's incredible how bright and clear they are. And they do look three-dimensional. You can tell some are farther away than others. On Earth, it looks kind of like a black carpet with just lights. But so, yeah.
We're enjoying this conversation with Winston Scott, and there's his little book on reflections from Earth orbit. And here's something I like, I pulled out of your book that is familiar to you, Winston, there. If a task once begun, never leave it till it's done. Be the labor great or small, do it well or not at all.
Our fifth grade teacher in elementary school taught us that poem. It's something that has stayed with me. I find my classmates, I guess, forever. That's one of the things that was instilled in us by Mr. Clark, Mr. Franklin Clark.
Is that right?
And,
well, you adopted that as a young man, obviously, and I think that's a good, mantra for people to lead their lives on there, sort of thing in there. We were celebrating Black History Month last month, and featured you and some of the other wonderful astronauts of the Corps there. But in my opinion, every month is Black History Month.
Absolutely.
And wanted Gabriel to share his thoughts about you gentlemen. And Gabriel, would
Yeah. Well, I'll start by bringing up the International Space Development Conference happening on Juneteenth this year, right? So this conference is part of an organization that this year is the 50th anniversary that we've been advocating for human habitations in space, like the grain settlements that Gerard O'Neill had envisioned. So actually, we started as the L5 Society 50 years ago. My good friend Keith Henson, he's still around. He was the co-founder of the L5 Society that merged with Wernher von Braun's National Space Institute. And we've been holding this conference on Memorial Day every year for decades. And this year, bringing it back to Florida, which is something I've been working on for 10 years as a member of the National Space Society, to get all the pieces together to bring this conference back here. And we've located it, in Orlando, but we're going to start on Juneteenth this year for that conference, which we made that decision a couple of years ago. And it's just even more, I think, impactful now to at this day and time to be doing that. And would love to invite you to come join us, celebrate that time. We have Dr. Proctor and Jeanette Epps are going to join us out there. And it's been a very touching thing for me to be able to do, because I've always seen myself as a social advocate for space. I was raised in the space environment. My parents are commercial entrepreneurs in space satellite communications. And I remember actually Gerard O'Neill, one of my earliest memories, he was at our house. My dad worked for him. My dad was the president of Geostar in the 80s. And so he was over at our house and he said, "Gabriel, one day you're going to be the mayor of a city in space." And that for me, that was my aha, kind of moment. And so the rest of my life, I've always seen the social, side of this. So I studied political science, I studied sociology, and that has always been how I've tried to approach the conversation or to advance, including 10 years ago running for Congress, saying we need to commercialize, out here. We need to make it possible for our commercial industry to use this spaceport.
Absolutely.
Because my whole life watching my parents create Sirius satellite radio and all these other systems, we never came here to see a launch. They were launching off of, out of French Guiana.
Right.
Because that's the only place you can launch commercially.
Commercial, that's right.
Right, out there. So we've seen so much just beautiful change in the last 10 years. So, one thing I just wanted to ask you is, really what came first? Was it music or was it the astronaut that taught you to work as a team? Did being in a band make because it's not just about having the skill, like
That's
you
right.
said, right?
Absolutely.
They're not looking
Absolutely.
for the best, the brightest, the fastest. You have to be able to work as a team. So which came first for you?
The teamwork experience, and our parents taught us. I say my brother and sister and I. Our parents taught us what they thought was leadership and teamwork skills from very, very early age. We were always involved in organizations at home, in the community, and at church. And we were expected to hold leadership positions. In my Boy Scout troop, I was patrol leader. In the band, I was a very, very good musician. I was section leader, lead trumpet, and section leader. And our father was always instilling us the desire to get ahead, do the best you can, to go be above and beyond, and take on leadership positions. So from an early age, leadership was instilled in us, and teamwork was instilled in us. And
What
of
kind
course,
of work did your dad do?
my dad was a postman. My dad delivered mail. Now, he wasn't just a postman. My dad and a guy named John Fryer were hired at the same time. They were the first two black postmen, the first two black men to carry mail in
In
Miami.
Miami.
Yeah, remember, jobs were segregated back in the day. So he broke the color barrier, so to speak. And when he retired, 37 years later, he was the senior black postman in the United States,
Wow.
and the seventh postman of all in the United States.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but
Wonderful.
because of segregation, he literally had to sort of fight his way into. But he was hired, and remained active and retired as a postman. But anyway, they instilled the leadership and teamwork skills into us from early on. So from a young child, and then the band, of course, reinforced that. And then playing sports, I was not a big time superstar athlete. We played a lot of sports in high school, and that instills teamwork. Youth church. My father was a deacon in the church, so Scott kids were always in church on Sunday mornings and Sunday school, and that was another place for leadership in the junior church, or the youth church, as we call it. So,
Yeah, that's special, and it reminds me so much of some things that I picked up from in my parents' story. So that poem that you read, my mother, in her entrepreneurial suits, she always used the term "do it now."
yes.
That was the name of her company. Everything was do it
Do
now.
it now.
And then when I got into playing sports, I played rugby, and my coach taught me something about how to play rugby, and the mantra that we picked up there is fail forward.
Absolutely.
Right? Make your mistakes, don't be afraid, just go right at it, and fail forward into it. And rugby, again, is also a sport. It's very physical.
Yes.
But you cannot overcome 15 alternative players on your own. You have to work as a unit in there. And then again, the civic component.
Right.
I was raised in a Jewish household, but very much we were always engaged, all of us, not only independently in our own studies, but as a family, supporting the community at large and all these the opportunities. So that definitely, I would say, I credit all of that with giving me the skills and ability to do what I do now, to be, I would call the administrator here. Sure, my next question is, I got this outfit, because I'm trying to do a retro NASA administrator outfit. So how well do I do?
It looks actually almost like Gene Kranz. Except
right.
This was white, I think. The black one.
I know, because
Yeah,
I'm looking for
Right,
I'm
Gene
looking for a
Kranz.
white one.
Failure's not an option.
Fit my midriff at
Yeah.
this point, but yeah.
Retro look
Yeah,
going there.
absolutely. You hit it. You nailed it.
Yeah, they can't see my chocolate pants, in here, but the peach shirt and the big collar. Yeah. Thank you.
We're having a great conversation. Gabriel Rothblatt here is also our executive director here at the National Space American Space Museum. You're also involved in the National Space Society. That's where he and I met. I did a cold call over there at the Memorial Foundation Education Center there, and about a year ago. And Gabriel was working on our 321 Day. We're celebrating the birth of Brevard County on March 21st, Winston. And this is the second event we're doing. Tell us a little about that, Gabriel.
Absolutely. So, Brevard County's actual birth date, is somewhat lost to history. We know it happened in a legislative session but it's not actually clear what day and time. And there's so many different components to Brevard, a very long county, including the Crane Creek story, which was Peter Wright was the first black postal worker in Florida, and he was one of the founders of Melbourne. So just incredible history here. Even the creation of this as the Space Coast, that happened in little bits and pieces. So it's not really any clear unifying moment. Then we have Robert Osband, veteran, a citizen advocate. I got to know him, 12 years ago, and I immediately recognized the spirit of citizen advocacy. He was in the libraries, in the museums. He was active in taking leadership roles all over the place. And it's because of him, he created that 321 area code. When you have those experiences, there's a belief that you can change things, right? And so this guy, he just went out and petitioned the FCC and created 321 as our area code. And so I think it's just an incredible story. He passed away a couple of years ago, and I just felt impassioned that I had to do something that honored that legacy. And it took me some time to think about it, and I came up with 321 Day. March 21st.
March 21st.
321, right?
Yeah.
And the the synchronicities just keep pouring out from that. It's he always wore a green shirt, and so it's like St. Patty's Day weekend. It's a great day for all of us to wear green and go for launch. It's the spring equinox, just all of this stuff. And without that 321 area code, even though we launched more than any place else in the world, it would have been hard to really solidify a local brand, around it. So last year we inaugurated it in his honor, but now as we're doing it year after year in perpetuity, we're calling it the Space Coast Birthday Party, because that is a day and time that we can create to bring this community together. Whether you are Winston Scott, the astronaut, or any astronaut, or you're a crane operator or whatnot, you just, live or part of this community, you have a place in space. And that's what 321 Day is all about. And this year, in the second year, we're actually doing the big party up here in Titusville, the birthday party, the cake and everything. But on Saturday, the 22nd, we're doing Brass in the Grass at O'Galley Library. So I will want to invite you, if you have the time, to come join it, because we have the O'Galley Jazz Band is going to come out and play out there, and so we'd love to have you.
Let me know, please.
I'd
love to. Yeah, absolutely. I go fairly when I'm invited, and I play with some of these groups. They'll invite me as a guest artist, so I'll play a number or two with the group. Yeah, absolutely.
But if you're local, he'll be at the Italian American Club in Melbourne. My good friend Rich Rosa there. They built that club up a little bit. Our astronomy club meets there 1 month, and then we meet here the other month in there. We enjoyed this conversation. We're going on almost an hour here, close to it. And Winston, thank you for your time. Don't want to keep you too much longer. To talk a little about here in the Black community. You have been very vocal throughout your career after an astronaut of inspiring youth. I've enjoyed seeing you in action at a couple Boys and Girls Club, things like that, because you're serious about trying to get to young men and women that, you might be a rapper, you might play basketball, but you better have a backup plan, right?
Well, I think it's important for all of us to do what we can to inspire the next generation. And that's all kids. I don't care.
Yeah.
I just got started with Japanese kids from Japan. But African-American kids are still very much underrepresented when it comes to, especially what we call the STEM courses, science, technology, engineering, and math. We're still very, very underrepresented. And I like to do what I can to inspire young people to get a good education and consider a career in science, technology, engineering, math, because first of all, it's so exciting. It's so much fun. And you'll be a part of the future. So yes, I do what I can to try and inspire young people.
And so you're saying, are we making any progress?
Well, I think so. I think we're making progress. I probably couldn't put a number on it, but I believe overall we're seeing more and more young minorities and women go into the STEM subjects and STEM related fields. Things have changed over the years. And when I was active duty Navy, we had no women in my squadrons. Women weren't going to sea then. My son is on active duty Navy. He's been a squadron commander. He's had women pilots in his squadron, his units. And of course, we have women in space now. We have women doing so, and minorities. You talked about Jeanette Epps and Cyan Proctor. So yeah, we're making progress. Probably not as fast as I would like to see. I think a lot of these young kids who maybe are lost. They don't have they don't grow up in the kind of household where they have inspiration to do well in school and to be successful. I like we still need to capture, save more of those young people. But I think we're making progress. I don't know.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
I think
Gabriel's
absolutely-
raised 4
absolutely.
children. You have a son and
our son's a naval aviator. He's a senior naval officer.
yeah.
He was-
You just tell me about something.
Yeah, well,
you're proud of him.
Oh yeah, he's a
Isn't that
Naval Academy graduate.
What's
He,
his name?
Well, his name is Winston Scott.
great? Winston, okay.
He's now Captain Winston Scott, and I'm retired Captain Winston, so it shows
Yeah.
how old I am. But he commanded a F-18 fighter squadron, and then he recently commanded the air wing aboard the aircraft carrier Carl Vinson.
Wow.
He was the wing commander. He's finishing up Naval War College Wednesday, so we're going up tomorrow for the graduation ceremony. And in 2 years, he will be up for admiral. So he's
Oh,
doing
man,
he's
that's
doing
awesome,
real well.
Winston. That's
Yeah, we're proud of him.
My brother is a major in the Army, a logistician.
All right.
He just got
Absolutely.
his second master's from Command General Staff College.
Good.
You know,
Excellent.
he's he's just doing it
Yeah.
incredible. But absolutely, it is, these examples that we said about the experiences, the archetype of childhood that we had is the blueprint. Doesn't matter what color, race, ethnicity, that is the blueprint. And sadly, it hasn't been as available. But I think there's another aspect of this, which is that there is this strong desire. That's what they're really saying, is that I want to be somebody.
That's right.
But what we I think we're a little lost in the perception is that you are, and there's so many ways to do that other than being the news anchor or the
Yes.
commander, right?
Right.
So I think that the most recent Top Gun beautifully shows this, right? So you see Tom Cruise and he's flying around, but he's got the commander of the flight staff. I don't remember his title, but the flight technician that's there, lock him into the
That's
cockpit
right.
on
Absolutely.
and he's just
Absolutely.
championing them.
Uh-huh.
There's not just that's a hero, and the fact that they portrayed that role
Yes.
in the movies, and the way that when I was in first grade, I watched the original Top Gun probably every day after school. One of my favorite movies,
Really?
right? Me and my little friend Mike, we would get
Scott
home.
Altman in there.
Yeah, Scott
Yep.
Altman was
Yeah.
there.
His mom would
Yeah.
put that thing. We'd sit on the couch. He'd put that on, and we'd
Scooter,
watch that
Screaming the Tower.
every day. And so, but it didn't really have that. It was all about the aviators.
That's right.
But this one, it really showed the who's behind, and that's what this museum is actually about: the space workers, right? So for every CEO or astronaut or a musician, there is a team of people who makes
Absolutely.
that possible.
That's right.
And I think that is part of what we have to, the message we need to get across is that there is no MC without a sound engineer.
That's right. Very true. And you're absolutely right. I try to get that across the young people too, that you don't have to be the person out in front of the camera, so to speak, or whatever. But there's so many important jobs on the team that may not get a lot of publicity, but nothing would happen without them.
Absolutely.
The technicians, the engineers. Even at NASA, one of the examples I like to use is being a dietitian. The people that prepare our food are degree college educated dietitians that prepare the food for space flight, and that work with us on our menus and what we eat and what we ate when we come back. And so, that's a career field that a person may not think about, but if you're into cooking and maybe you want to get into the space program, dietitian, photography. We have professional photographers train us on how to take pictures. So a person that's interested in photography might think about. So you're right. There's no limit to what a person can do and be successful at. It doesn't have to be the head coach. It could be the trainer. the physical therapist or the equipment manager or whatever, or the public
Exactly.
relations person.
Exactly. What we say is that, you know, because of that, we're all cosmic engineers.
Right.
We are all part of this human organism. This is our common, you know, legacy that we're building, and I think that that's just part of an aspect we have to see, and have to believe that that is part of our path, you know, to get there. And I think with the humility that you find, and I've met a lot of astronauts, you know, through this role and through others, but you would think that they're so braggadocious because they went to space, you know, but they know it all happened. Nobody went by themselves.
That's
It was
right.
all part of a
Exactly.
team, and they all have such great humility, you know, in themselves, that, you know, I honestly didn't even come from the overview effect of going to space, right? They were largely just very humble people, and that's what makes you a good team player.
Well,
Appreciate
that fits Winston Scott to the T. You've done some great things. We got some great comments here. One, Marty's got a couple questions, but Steve Jokums echoes a quote that I love seeing displayed. She said, Steve Jokums, and you're going to meet him if you come Saturday to our
Okay.
Shuttle Fest. Winston and all the African American astronauts are so important because, as Sally Ride said, if you can't see it, you can't be it.
Absolutely.
And that's one of my favorite quotes from any astronaut. You
Yes.
can't be what you can't see. And Sally Ride said that, and that's why she accepted that role. She didn't want to take really of being the first American woman to go to space there. Marty, you got a couple questions there for Winston?
You have three questions. First one's from Carlton Bailey. They keep talking about trying to send regular folk into space. The net worth of 5 of the 6 women going up on New Shepard is 13 to 132 million. How long before the regular folk get to go? Any idea?
I can't put a number on how
Yeah,
long
good
it'll
one,
be.
Carlton.
And what it means is how long will it be
I'm
before it
still
gets out
working
when
on
regular
my
folks
first
can
million.
afford it. Yeah, I can't say when that's gonna happen, but it is happening. You know, when I was a kid growing up, our teachers used to tell us, well, by the time you're an adult, everybody will be flying. Well, it didn't happen quite that
Yeah.
fast, but it is happening. We see now private citizens going. A lot of them are ultra rich celebrities. In fact, they're getting ready. Blue Origin's getting ready to launch another
He's talking about
group.
the 6
I think
women.
Gail King, I think,
Gail
is going to be
King,
on it.
Katy Perry,
Katy Perry,
the pop
and there are
singer.
other ultra rich people.
Amanda
but,
Nguyen,
yeah,
was amazing. I mean, this is just a step
yeah.
to other missions for her.
But I can't say when it's going to happen, but now that it has happened, I think it's going to accelerate, and we will see within 10 years, 20 years perhaps, more and more people will be able to afford a flight into space. It will happen. You know, I can't say when, but
I was trying to
will
find
happen.
an analogy, Winston,
Yeah.
where like the first balloons, where air balloons were going up, and
Well-
the millionaires that flocked to do
Well,
that.
an
and
analogy
stuff,
in my
because
own life is when I was a kid, we didn't fly any place. No, we couldn't afford to
they're-
fly.
Oh, right.
The rich people flew.
Yeah.
If we had to travel, we got in the car, and we had used cars, and we drove. But now anybody can buy a ticket and fly on an airplane. someplace. And that's just within my lifetime. So I think we're going to see the same thing with the space program
Very
within a
interesting.
decade, a couple of decades, or whatever.
Well, you know, everyone asks that question, but no one seems to be asking when are regular people going to, you know, take Ocean's Gate and go see Titanic, right?
Right.
So there's but you're absolutely right. There by nature is a curve, you know, to doing it. But on the other hand, you know, wealth is just another demographic type. And I think that we shouldn't assume that these aren't regular people just because of their wealth, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know very poor people, I know very rich people, and you know, you can find arrogance in either category, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting there. Danny Van Houk had lunch with you, Winston. Calls you a very warm astronaut, Winston Scott. I'm one of the crazy Belgians. who visited the American Space Museum last January
Okay.
and had lunch with you. And did they bring you chocolate? They brought me chocolate when they were here.
You know, I have to think back. I'll be honest. I attend so many events. If I could talk and hear a little bit more about it, it would ring a
Astronaut
bell.
probably out there with
But
you.
yeah. But anyway, it's not. Is it Danny?
Yeah, Danny.
Well, good
Yeah.
to hear from you again, Danny. I apologize. I don't remember that specific instance. I have to think back on it now. But it's good to.
Did you have lunch
Connect,
with an astronaut out there at the Space Center?
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, he's
Lunch
talking
with
about
the
not here. He's talking
Oh,
about
okay.
out
I
there
thought
at
it was
Space
here.
Center.
It's like an event here.
No, he visited
Yeah.
here.
Or
And then they
it
went
might
over
have been
there.
chat with.
Yeah.
Chat with an astronaut.
Yeah,
And,
chat with
and
you.
Danny can chime in again and let me know if that's correct with a
Yeah.
chat with an astronaut. But
Marty's got a couple other questions there.
Dean Babcock is asking, how concerned are you that the Artemis program could possibly be canceled?
yeah, I am a little bit concerned about that. I like to see we need Artemis. We need to return to the moon. We need to return to the moon soon, and we need to have a human presence on the moon. So I would not like to see that program canceled. I don't believe it's going to be canceled. I think if nothing else, SpaceX will pick up the slack and get us there. Right now, SpaceX is a partner, but you have Boeing, you have Lockheed, you have a bunch of other people who are players also, and some of them are having some struggles right now. So I think Artemis will go. The question is, who will the players be? SpaceX will definitely be one. Boeing is the other, and Boeing, of course,
Blue
is having
Origin.
Blue Origin is another one.
Yeah.
And so my answer is I don't think Artemis will be canceled. I think Artemis may continue to be delayed, but I don't think we'll stop it. We've got to continue on, and we've got to see that program through. The question is, who will the players be? That I can't answer.
By the way, Danny wrote Anna Fisher.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. I remember that.
Belgium with
See-
Anna Fisher.
Yep. See, when you
She's
give me
awesome.
more detail, I remember.
Yeah.
That was recent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was recent. I came
Yeah.
over. Anna was Danny. Good to see you again. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I
she's
remember.
awesome. We
Anna
we
is
got
awesome.
to talk to her at that
Yeah.
astronaut movie.
That's right.
Well, at the movie of Eileen, she was there
Collins.
in there. In there. Marty, another question for Mr. Scott,
Right from Chris
Captain Scott.
Chris Giorgio's asking, would you ever ride on a starship, and at what point in its development would you take the risk?
Oh, absolutely. I'd ride on a Starship. The company has done a great job with the previous rockets, the Falcon series, and Starship is it's in the testing stages, having some problems. But that's why we test. That's what testing evaluation is all about. So at the point where they've had successful test flights in the end and it becomes human rated, yeah,
I
absolutely.
believe it was a launch today at 6:00. Is that the
The Starship, right? Yeah.
The Starship today?
Yeah.
It's
I
so
think
many of them.
oh, you can't keep track
Yeah, I
of
can't
them.
keep track of them all.
Even an astronaut can't keep track of all the
There-
launches
There
leaving
are
the Earth.
so many, and yeah.
And,
But the
and-
answer
but
is
it's
yes.
great.
I would,
It's great.
I would,
I mean, it's so amazing. 20 launches already
Mhm.
on the Space Coast this year. 91 last
yeah,
year.
91 last year. I think 70 something the year before. 91 last year,
And,
27 already this year, so we'll exceed 100. But
Yeah.
yeah, but the answer is yes. I would absolutely ride on a Starship.
Gabriel, do you have something to?
Well, yeah,
Oh, hey, Alex Carl just came in.
Yep.
Our hey, Alex. He is ESA Capcom.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He comes for the European launches. He's
Right.
been on our show
Right.
here.
Mhm.
Alex was here a week ago. He had a meeting about the crew or the Peggy Whitson's going up
Oh, yeah.
again with
Yeah, Peggy's-
Axiom.
Mhm.
Axiom,
that's
and they've
right.
got an ESA astronaut on
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
And
I know
I know
Peggy,
I know
yeah,
about
Peggy.
when it's going to launch,
yeah.
but I won't tell anybody. Alex, he told me about when that's going to
Yeah,
happen. It's
for,
not going to be very soon.
Yeah, for Alex, real quick, we had ESA, had a couple of ESA astronauts in my class. Jean-Francois Clevois was in my class from
Okay.
France. Mauricio Cayley from Italy was in my class. So we had a
Okay.
couple of and these were the first ESA astronauts, not mission specialists, not payload specialists.
Clairvoy.
Clevois and
Clairvoy.
Cayley, Mauricio Cayley,
Okay.
and Jean-Francois.
They were
Clairvoy.
hogs.
Yeah, the Hogs.
They were
absolutely.
hogs, indeed. And everybody's
Yeah.
enjoying this great show. Of course, Alex, glad you're back in Germany there. He's a fun guy. He actually he's here for Christopher Reddy's landing
Mhm.
and was on that ship that they brought him back and all that. And he told us all about that. So Marty, anything else we haven't asked there? As we're enjoying this wonderful Billy Bob.
That's right. Yeah, I almost brought that up. Jean-Francois.
That's his
we
name,
thought-
Billy Bob?
Yeah, we thought Jean-Francois Clevois was a lot of name. We thought he ought to have a good old-fashioned, down-home American name. So we nicknamed him Billy Bob. Got a name tag made with Billy Bob.
Okay.
If you run into Clevois, just say Billy Bob and he'll answer.
By the way, nobody knew what Koichi Wakata's
Koichi was
nickname
the
is.
man.
The man.
Koichi was the man.
The man.
Yeah, we got my name tag with
I
the
seen a
man.
picture of you with the name tag walking out during the terminal countdown.
I
test or
don't know how that
And everyone
started,
had the
though, yeah.
man. All the
Yeah.
crew had the
Well,
man on there.
Koichi had the man, and we all had name tags with the man.
With the man. Yeah, with the man. He's the most
Crazy, that.
experienced Japanese astronaut, I
Yeah,
think.
Koichi just landed, 6 or 8 months ago
Yeah.
from the ISS.
And I think
Japan.
he's still active.
Yeah, he's still active.
And be a good guy to go to the moon there,
Yeah.
wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for watching today. Of course, Winston Scott, busy man today, with those 30-some Japanese students that just loved every word you said there.
All
And
right, it's my
so
pleasure.
forth. Gabriel, you've got something you'd like to ask Winston that we haven't?
Well, I guess one of my pet ideas is that space is not where we should be sending the youngest just most fit astronauts, but actually is where we should be retiring the lower gravity, the lower metabolism, minimizes your susceptibility to radiation. So would you be interested in retiring on the moon in the future?
I would definitely be interested in spending time on the moon. Absolutely. Well, I don't know if I want to stay there full time, but I believe that what you're proposing is absolutely appropriate, and at some point in the future, we will get there. When we get to the point we have communities on the moon that can accommodate people who are of advanced age, can go up and live. And I think you're right on time. That's another benefit of living and working in space and having a permanent presence in space.
There was a movie, Cocoon, with people
Oh, I remember that.
could be in the cocoon. Remember that?
I remember that. Yeah.
Winston, you're awesome. Thank you so much
thank
for
you.
your professional friendship and supporting our museum here.
Thank you.
What do you think about our museum?
Museum
today?
is-
We come in here
Museum
all
is
the time.
fantastic, and it's always growing, always evolving, always just a great facility and addition to the community, a great part of our local community.
And we've been busy.
Absolutely.
The tourism has really picked
Yeah.
up the whole
Mhm.
coast and so forth, and I think we're getting our share.
Absolutely.
Want to thank some people watching today: Gary Gerald, Bob Mahan, Dave Stange, Bob Bidding Babcock had great questions. Elena Adcaria from South Africa, my daughter Jessie, and granddaughters McKinley and Macy. Tom Celentano really enjoyed the show today. Everybody finds it just our camaraderie here, and that's what we're all about. Is not don't take ourselves too seriously. Steve Jokums, of course, Mitch Rothman, Carlton Bailey, T. Booker, 1982. Thank you for joining our family, T. Booker. Cliff Watson is in Pomona, Australia, having his brekkie on Tuesday. You ever been to Australia?
I have not. That's the place I want to go. I have your first
Cliff,
Australian
get him lined
astronaut.
up with your astronomy club.
Yeah.
Send me what it'll cost and pass the hat.
Send
Get
me what?
Winston
No.
there.
Well, I was going to say Andy Thomas, the
Yeah.
first Australian astronaut, was in my class.
Oh, was he?
Yes, I know Andy Thomas.
And he's married to. He's
There
married
you
to an astronaut.
Andy Thomas?
Yeah. He's
I lost track. We haven't seen Andy in a
he's married to-
long time now.
Cliff, he's married to Shannon. Someone tell me who Andy Thomas is married to. You
Yeah,
know
we look-
Steve
look it up.
Jokums. Julie Clay just commented there. Awesome show. So interesting. Thank you, Julie. Tommy Usiak. Thank you. And Tom photographed your two launches, I'm thinking. Doug Forrest is an artist in Los Angeles. Mark Warabetz, Michael Bruno, Chris Giorgio, Danny Van Heck, the Belgian there, and Alex Carr, our ESA Eurocomp. is what he is. And you know, though there's no European astronauts on the space station, which Winston was in that period before the space station was built, that middle third I talk about, when you did fabulous things so we could build the space station. Alex, I say about Alex Carl's a Eurocom up there. He talks to the American astronauts that are doing the European space station
Yes. Yes.
up there.
Right.
So they're very involved up there. Marty says we have a new record 30 live viewers. We'll probably have a couple hundred watch the end of this show with Winston Scott here. Marty, anything over there?
Shannon Walker.
Shannon Walker. She's married to Shannon Walker. Thank you very much. She's married to for a long time there. Bob Mayran knew that. Thank you so much, Winston.
Thank you.
I wanted to give you some what we call Cocoa Beach crack here. You and your wife Marilyn enjoy your television tonight, and think of old Mark there.
Now, they're actually yogurt pretzels, folks.
Yeah,
So.
they're yogurt pretzels. Have you had those, haven't you?
I have. I love these.
Good.
Good. I'm a
Good.
sweet tooth anyway.
Good. I've always enjoyed seeing your wife because I get to talk to her as everybody pulls you away, and I say, Marilyn, come over here and talk to me.
Well,
I want
she's
to
put
talk
up with me for a long time.
Yeah,
Well, absolutely.
she's awesome.
My proudest third place, achievement was, coming in third place when Marilyn was first place. We did a fundraiser. She did the most phenomenal Tina Turner I'd ever seen. I thought it was the real thing.
Oh, really?
And, absolutely. And I did a Chuck Berry and came in third place in that fundraiser. But again, a testament to everything that you do, not just have done in space, but you and Marilyn continue to support the community. Thank you very much.
I'm saying to you, thank you very much for what you do in the community.
Pat Atkins,
Absolutely.
Pat Atkins is he was a quality assurance person on the shuttle.
Was he on during my day? Probably
Yep.
during my day.
He says another great show. Winston was one of my favorite storytellers during shuttle that would hang out with us at the OPF.
Oh yeah, yes,
Lots of
indeed.
fun out there.
Yeah.
So once again, thank you, sir, for always taking your time for the American Space Museum.
Thank
and
you.
I know you talk about us to the other astronauts and so
absolutely.
forth.
Yeah.
And it really helps us. And I'm glad that you all got to know Gabriel Rothblatt a little bit better now. Here, we're so privileged and wonderful that you came on when you did, and we're having a good time together trying to. We got the ship is heading in the right direction, and we got a good group coming together to do what we do best, and that's celebrate the birth of America's space age right here in this delivery room, Brevard County. So, any final thoughts, Winston, to our audience watching today?
Just thank them for watching and tuning in, and invite them to come out and visit the museum and visit the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex whenever you're in town. There's so much fabulous, fantastic,
That's right.
fun stuff to do over there. So come out and spend time with us.
And he's booking all those wonderful guests out there, the astronauts that give so freely of their time. And I can't wait to get out there and see Tom Jones tomorrow and all the ones afterwards. Marty, anything from you, sir?
Nope, we're all caught up.
All right. Well, thank you. Tomorrow we got Bert Dick coming to kind of what's Bert been up to. You met Bert at the National Space Society.
Okay.
He's the membership chairman
Yes.
over there. Bert's going to be on the show, and then we'll probably pull a couple other guests. Who knows what we're going to do this
And
week.
our one of our birthday astronauts, Bonnie Dunbar, she is one of our newest board members of the National Space Society.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Happy
Yes,
birthday,
indeed.
Bonnie.
Yeah.
We can't wait till you sit in Winston's seat here, Bonnie,
Absolutely.
and tell your story. So thank you, everybody, for watching today. We really appreciate your support. And I'll just say until tomorrow, I'm Mark Marquette saying we can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us.